Thank you so much. First of all, at the outset, let me congratulate Sanjay and Rahul for this historic event. And I'm really privileged to be associated with a galaxy of scholars for the first time in my life, I would say, dealing with, coming from the field of disability. Of course, the structured kind of response which I would give with regard to the things the organizers want me to talk about, that certainly I'll do, and then also add something of my own. So first of all, about the teacher-student relationship, which has been the first aspect of comment. I think when I joined in 1982, my postgraduate teaching department, I had encountered, see, for example, a very small number of students. It was a class of 30 or 40. That is the first point. The second point is all of them were at least 20 year old. They were not young, immature people who would like to venture something, some pranks against the teacher. So they were not of that time. Therefore, and even before I joined as a teacher, as a student, I was quite popular student because I used to explain some of the series of law to the other students. So that itself was a reason for others to develop confidence in my ability to articulate the subject in a very authentic manner. So I never faced any difficulties so far as generation of confidence with the students is concerned, for the simple reason that these size was small and the students were matured ones. And only challenge which I faced when I went to teach in Nalsar University of Law, Hyderabad. At that point of time, I was teaching not the postgraduate students, but I was teaching the LLB students. So they were in their 20s and they were quite young and they were quite willing to take chances. As Professor Anna Lawson mentioned, that she had a problem in dealing with the students. I also faced the problem in Nalsar University because the students used to, play games and talk with each other, and there was no silence which every teacher would expect the classroom to have. So one day I told them very quietly, I said, the Supreme Court of India has recognized that right to life includes right to means of livelihood. I said, do you know what kinds of questions are asked to a teacher with a person who is seeking a job in teaching line? The questions which the administrators ask are, for example, how are you going to control the class? How are you going to study? How are you going to evaluate papers? These are kinds of questions they are being asked. So I told them, I said, if you persist with this behavior with a teacher with disability, take advantage of their visual disability, obviously it would mean the end of right to means of livelihood for all teachers with disability. They will never be able to make it to the classroom at all. And that was such a serious, that made such a serious impact upon the students that that very batch then transcribed the Professor Rawls' book on political liberalism into a soft copy, and they presented me when I left Nalsar after 2 years. So that was one experience which I had in teaching difficulty, which I had in with the students. They were quite young people, but thereafter, those who had practiced those pranks, they came and apologized to me also. That was another important aspect which I would like to emphasize. So quite apart from these, Professor Lawson also mentioned about inaccessibility of books. I'm talking about 1980. Professor Lawson was talking about. So at that point of time, the books were certainly not there, and therefore you have to rely on the human readers. So you have to organize a team of human readers, and then I was teaching American constitutional law and British constitutional law at the postgraduate level, so that demanded a good deal of reading of the judgments of the American Supreme Court and then the House of Lords, and also some of the professors of constitutional law. So that was a big challenge for me, and I had to rely on a team of readers who used to uh, record the work for me, and then I used to take down notes in Braille, and that is how I managed teaching. Uh, the life become quite easier when Sanjay Jain joined my classes in 1990s, and it was thereafter I started having additional help because Sanjay Jain had the great ability to organize people and get the necessary help from them, and he had managed to record books on Canadian constitutional law and American constitutional law and all that. So that made my life quite easy. So I would say my greatest achievement in my life is that I am a teacher of Sanjay Jain, I would say. So what I wanted to say was that inaccessibility of books was the biggest issue I had to face. And that, of course, might have led to the kind of limitations of development of the law in-depth studies in law depth at that particular point of time. Of course, it is now being compensated by the enormous amount of books which are now made available in soft copy, and there is now hardly any time for us to read the books because of our commitments to teaching and research as well. So, quite apart from these personal aspects, I believe that the UNCRPD has really revolutionized the philosophy of persons with disability, looking at the life realities or lived realities of persons with disability. One of the most important aspects of UNCRPD is that it recognizes persons with disability as a form of human diversity and part of humanity. I think this is the most significant aspect of it. The second aspect is that it also recognizes that persons with disability are entitled to all the human rights and fundamental freedoms on the basis of equality with others. So I believe this is the otherhood dimension of the UNCRPD, but the goal is to achieve brotherhood. So that journey has to begin from otherhood to brotherhood. That is the idea underlying the UNCRPD. Most importantly, I thought that recognition of the persons with disability as a form of human diversity has far-reaching implications. For example, when you talk about diversity, it depends upon two important factors, as I would say, borrow the insights of Professor Rawls. He says that a social basis of self-respect is one important aspect of being treated as equal. And secondly, although you are unique and different, secondly important thing is, he says that you have to have the lively sense of one's own worth. I think these two elements are important aspects of the human diversity, and I believe that the recognition of disability as a human diversity is an important fact, in the sense that the convention invests the fact of disability with the potential of being the actual marker of disability identity, thereby, according to the persons with disability group, for example, that equal emotive dignity in the formation of identities as well, along with or on the basis of equality with other political groups. So I believe that we need to work on this particular dimension of diversity, and for that purpose, I thought that we need to develop the doctrine of substantive equality, as Professor Sandra Friedman has mentioned in her IGCL article, and also in her rejoinder to Professor McKinnon's book, McKinnon's response to Professor McKinnon. about the nuanced understanding of the doctrine of substantive equality. I think what is needed is to develop the doctrine of substantive equality, and it's a very serious matter. We have to be sensitive to the lived life experiences of persons with disability, of isolation, neglect, subordination, and exploitation. I think these must inform the understanding and application of the equality principle. So, more importantly, I thought that in order to equalize the chances of being accepted as the equal with others, I believe that we need to demonstrate that the political emotions, how political emotions are being treated by the state, that is an important aspect, as has been developed by Professor Martha Nussbaum in her book Craving Political Emotions and Why Love Matters for Justice. I believe we need to work on this aspect, because the emotional dimension, political aspect of the emotional dimension is important, because it is here we can demonstrate that how hollow and how indifferent the ableist perspective is. And in order to deconstruct the ableist epistemology, I believe that we need to adopt this inquiry, which Professor Martha Nussbaum has asked us to think about. I think that is, I believe, is the academic, as a disability academician, I would like all of us to think about. I think it is necessary that we need to focus upon the aspect of social consciousness, as Sanjay mentioned in his opening remarks, that awareness raising and sensitization are the important aspects which Article 8 talks about, UNCRPD. And I believe that putting it in the chapter on human rights themselves is a very important development, I thought. And we can deconstruct the ableist consciousness, namely, for example, the social prejudices that the disability means inability and incompetence. I believe that we have to deconstruct this social consciousness and demonstrate that persons with disability have the ability and competence to work like any others. And that is the only way in which we can overcome the attitudinal barriers which have been constructed on the basis of the ableist epistemology. So I believe that is all I think we need to do as a practical matter. That is the very challenging task we have to develop a nuanced understanding of this doctrine of substantive equality, informed by the life experiences of the persons with disability. I think that is what is absolutely essential. And I think that so far as technology is concerned, it has been quite helpful in overcoming the challenges of inaccessibility. Of course, we have a long way to go to establish equal human rights and fundamental freedom with others. But I believe we have started on the right process. So once again, I thank all of you. I thank all the professors who have contributed to this important event, historic event. And thank you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Professor Deshpande.